What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Tell Me More podcast presented by the Real Estate Cheat Code. I have Taylor Kolon with me from the Re-Equity Group at Keller Williams Capital Partners. Taylor, thanks so much for taking time out of your day to join us and to, really share your story and your journey of becoming a real estate agent.
Yeah, I appreciate it, John. Thank you very much. And, this is something I'm very passionate about as well. Growing agents and making sure they're set up for success. And I appreciate you doing this because I think it's really important to get various messages out there because we're at a very pivotal point in our industry and we got to make sure that we're rising everyone up right now.
Yeah, and I know we'll definitely get to the point of talking about your decision of becoming a real estate agent. And, you and I were talking before the podcast started of, and my viewers know my passion is helping people get into this business and, really having a positive impact on the failure rate, right? Like I don't believe it needs to be 87%. I think, real estate is fairly simple but hard. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of times there's so many different messages out there of like, you have to do real estate this way to have success, that I think that's wrong. And so I love having people like yourself on here, successful agents coming on here, sharing their story, their journey, as well as diving into the real estate side and how they built the business. So Taylor, where we always start is the very, very, very beginning. What was life like for you growing up?
So don't hold it against me. I grew up outside Detroit in a suburb called Livonia, and graduated from Central Michigan University, did some traveling after that, spent some time in Chicago, Southern California. Then I inevitably realized that life has to take place at some point in time. So ended up getting a sales position job with Worthington Industries, and I was still up in the Detroit area at the time. But a few lefts, few rights took me to Columbus, Ohio in 2010. And I was still with Worthington Industries in a sales role. And I found there was several different things that kind of led me into real estate. A couple of them to highlight was I always felt like I was chasing my value, if that made sense. I always felt like, you could reach a sales quota, whatever that is, but they're just going to raise the quota the next year or create different obstacles in order for an organization or a company to make money. And if my whole purpose was to make a company money, why aren't I in a position to be able to get the benefits of the efforts that I put into my career directly, right? So that was pretty powerful for me. And then also at the time, the sales role was to kind of bounce around from territory to territory based on performance to increase the performance of those territories. And as I was starting to establish a family, I just realized that wasn't something that I was too excited about, just to bounce from every 2 years a different part of the country.
Yeah, I want to back up and see,
Sure.
For what you went to Central Michigan for, was it business? Was it what did you focus on? What was your studies?
Oh man, this is a funny story. I like to think I was on the 6-year non-doctorates program. I really could never identify with what I wanted to do. And so I went to the guidance counselor right before the start of year 5.5 or something. I was like, I got to get out of here. And so we just made a path. And so I got my degree in commercial recreation, sports. I played sports my whole life. And so, managing like a nationwide arena or a Huntington Park or something like that was something that was appealing to me. So I got my degree in commercial recreation, and that took me out to Colorado right after college. Slowly started to realize those hours were just brutal. I mean, you're getting out at like 10, 11 o'clock at night and you're in the door again at like 9 o'clock in the morning. And I was just like, ugh,
yeah,
not for me.
I'm laughing and smiling, not at you, but I went to Ohio State and originally to do accounting and then failed calculus. And that made me switch my major into what Ohio State calls sports and leisure studies at the time. And so your career field was either you become the gym teacher, right? Or you dive into season ticket sales with the Blue Jackets, and then you work your way up your corporate ladder.
That's right.
And for me, I never got to the point of actually getting hired. I just quickly realized I didn't want to do that grind. And so, I picked real estate. But it's just funny. I always bring up the college thing because I'm always curious, right? Different eras and all of those things. Was it important in your family? Not important? Was it, were you forced to kind of go to college? Not forced to go to college? But a lot of times, like I didn't use my degree one day, right? Like, and I got into real estate, and so you actually went down that path, experienced it a little bit, realized that the hours and things weren't for you. What made you eventually get into the point of finding a sales career?
I always connected with people, and I think college certainly has a lot of benefits to it, right? You learn discipline. I mean, quite frankly, I was good at getting B's in high school, but I was really good at getting B's in high school because I was friends with a lot of the teachers, and I think that maybe I was able to negotiate or manage my relationships to help out my grade point a little bit. But then when I got to college, it was like, guess what? You're one of 200 in this lecture hall. You better perform, or else you're getting out. And so I had to really quickly learn how I learn, how I study, various habits and things like that. And so it set me up for outside of college in my more professional career, that you have to be a little bit more disciplined than just the relationships. But I also knew that the relationships were something that were really, really important to me. And there's a saying that I really like, and it's, business is easy, people are hard. And if you can communicate, and if you can understand people, and you can manage relationships at a high level, then that's where you're really going to start to see a lot of benefits throughout any career path, as far as I'm concerned, not just real estate or sales.
Yeah. So you go on the journey, Worthington Industries, and, you're finding out that, the effort, the time, away from family, the time, dedicated to the career, just isn't adding up in your mind as far as your worth, and I think a lot of us, I mean, even in real estate sometimes, right? I think that, comes into play depending on, are you doing real estate the way that you want to do real estate? Are you doing real estate the way that other people tell you they think you should be doing real estate? And I have a lot of those conversations with agents that I help. Lead me up to the decision of, I'm going to become a real estate agent.
My hand was forced, quite frankly. I was with another position or another company in between Worthington Industries and real estate. And it was a company, and they were focused on a different metals product. It wasn't directly related to steel. But I eventually got fired, and I was new with that organization, and because the territory was local in Columbus, and I didn't have to travel to, call it, St. Louis or whatever with Worthington.
Yeah.
So anyway, management didn't see eye to eye with the owners of the company. They ended up letting my boss go, and then 2 weeks later, I'm just married, and they let me go as well. And so I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, how is this possible? You just hired me like 4 months ago. You let my boss go. Now you're letting me go. And it was just another kind of tipping point to say, what is that career where you essentially, eat what you make, or you go out and kill, so to speak, right? And I started to do a little bit of research, and I was originally going to go into investment real estate. But I needed some cash flow, and I needed some quick transactions. Fortunately for us, my wife and I were living well below our means, and she was making a great income, to which I didn't have to bring in money immediately. But as a new relationship, I felt like I wanted to. It was important to me to help my worth, so to speak, within the relationship. So I decided to do the more traditional resale real estate route. And but yeah, my hand was forced. I was thinking about investment properties, and my wife is the one who kind of said, why don't you go get your real estate license, and we can start trying to work through some deals and things like that. And then gotta get your license affiliated with a brokerage, and next thing you know, I'm doing real estate transactions.
What year did you get your license?
Yeah, 2013.
2013. And then did you have family or anyone else that had an interest in real estate, or was it just, hey, I really think I, like the idea, the concept of, flipping houses, investing in properties. Because I always tell people, like, look, when I got in 2011, HGTV was the thing that kind of swayed me, right? So
that's it. Property Brothers, Chip and Joanna Gaines. It's a sexy thing on TV. Really getting into the weeds and the numbers it's pretty challenging. And you need capital to be able to achieve some of those goals. It's not like, you can just pull a bunch of money out and start buying houses. So to your point, it's very, very similar. It was the shiny thing at the time, and it somewhat still is the shiny thing, but it's much harder as you continue to expose it and develop it and figure it out.
Yeah. Did you have a moment where maybe it hit you that, this isn't what is portrayed on TV?
I mean, the first 2 years were a grind. I mean, the funny thing is people think that we sell houses, and that's, I think, complete backwards. We have to sell ourselves before we're selling houses. That's a home will sell a home. I mean, like, you could have two homes right next to each other, built at the exact same year, the exact same square footage, the exact same bedrooms, bathrooms, everything like that, but they're completely different. And people feel different things when they walk into them, right? The house sells itself. We have to sell ourselves first before we sell a house. And I think when I was transitioning from corporate sales, where we're selling a plan, we're selling a product, we're selling a service, that sort of thing. We don't necessarily, like, the person is not as high in the equation as it is in real estate. And I think when I started to understand that and really focused on my own development after year 2 is when I started to see a lot more transactions and a lot more success in the industry.
Now, when you made that decision to jump into real estate, obviously you said your wife, obviously supported you in the idea of, like, hey, go get your license, right? Like, go do this thing. Where did everyone else fall in your inner circle? Did you have supporters? Did you have doubters? Because again, this is and I don't know, obviously your structure of how you were compensated before, but a lot of times, right? I like to bring this up on every single conversation because I think this can be a make and break for a lot of people, right? It's your support structure around you. It's, are people, looking at you sideways being like, man, you just gave up this secured. I always do that in air quotes, right? This secured job or the secured pay to go to this 100% commission thing. And even in 2013, when you got in, we were still coming out of it. We were still feeling some of, 08, 09, right? 2010, it was obviously coming up, but we were still having some of those feelings and helping with some of those clients that were, lost their home in a short sale or a foreclosure or bankruptcies and all of those things. But how did your inner circle support you, or did you have doubters?
Certainly. In fact, so my wife bought the home that we were currently living in. I mean, we were dating, and I was somewhat a part of that process. But the real estate agent is still practicing today that sold her that house back in 2010 or whatever it was, 2010. And I called him and I said, hey, tell me about the industry. What are some of the successes? What are some of your failures? What are some of your challenges? Because I'm not only investigating real estate, but I'm investigating financial services. I'm investigating insurance. I'm investigating all these, kind of service professional type of positions. And he was like, hey man, it's really hard. He was basically trying to talk me out of this. Right. And at that moment, and that was really, I think a thing for me, because I was like, really, is it this hard? Right. And I didn't listen to him, thank goodness, obviously. But my wife was incredibly supportive, and my family was up in Michigan. So fortunately for enough, I didn't have a lot of people here in Central Ohio in my sphere or friends and family that were telling me you probably couldn't do it, because the majority of them probably would be saying, are you sure this is what you want to do? Are you sure this is the right fit for you? Because it's a grind. It takes a lot of work to build a business. And I think my own ignorance was something that was actually a benefit in the long run.
I'm curious, because you didn't really have a sphere here, for the people that are maybe similar to you, and even like me, I graduated, I came to Ohio State. I'm not from Columbus, and I just stayed. And, I was 22 and I even my friends that I had at college were not going to be buying houses, right, anytime soon. How did you go about building your business, and how did you think about building your business, especially, year one, year two, as someone that, again, you didn't have a sphere, but that's always the common thing people tell you to go do, right? And work your sphere, to go network. How did you do it?
The wrong way, in my opinion, and the wrong way for me, I should say, because I know that there's, again, several different ways and several different journeys and paths that one can take. So I essentially started to buy Zillow leads. I got a few close transactions under my belt, and so I was able to generate some income. And again, my wife was supporting our lifestyle, so I was able to reinvest what I closed into my business. And I understand that there's a lot of agents out there that don't have that benefit. So I'm fortunate and I'm very grateful for my wife and her support going through that journey. But I bought a lot of Zillow leads and started to see a lot of buyer transactions take place. I started to convert them at a very high level. I was converting them probably between 4.5% to 5%. And so it was great. The problem with it was the time, and also it wasn't for me the foundation for my business. It wasn't something that I wanted to build my business based on my network, my SOI. So as my SOI continued to grow from past clients, I was also out there trying to grow my SOI, or my sphere of influence, through networking and things like that, and events. So after a while, I think it was COVID, when I didn't know what was going to happen on the back end of COVID. But what I did know, and my mentor, my coach at the time, he's like, everything you do, go through your P&L, all of your expenses, categorize everything A, B, C, D, and cut all the D's and the C's, question the B's, and keep all the A's. And so I went through, and Zillow was one of the things where it was like one of the biggest things on my P&L. And I was like, cutting it. I'm done. I'm building this business organically through my SOI, through word of mouth. And that's where we're at right now. But at the time when I started, Zillow was a great way for me to kind of boost the business that I was looking to achieve.
I'm curious, because I want to touch on this, because I think this is important, right? You said it was the wrong way for me, but you had success.
Mm-hmm.
So why was it the wrong way for you? And this is why I love having different agents on here, right? Because I built my business only with internet leads, right? And
Yeah.
I'm a still pro internet lead guy, love Zillow, right? We do the whole Google AdWords, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I know that's not for everyone, right? So for you, you had the success, but why was it why did you not want to build your foundation or part? And here's the thing, I don't think it's just the foundation, right? Part of your foundation, your real estate foundation with that.
Yeah. The biggest part of the whole equation was time, right? I was getting very frustrated. It would be a Saturday at 3 p.m. and you get that notification from Zillow. You're like, hey, this person's looking at this property, follow up with them immediately. And there's two couples with my wife, and we're, out on the back porch having a drink. And I'm like, I got to go take this call, right? Because that's what leads to the 5% conversion, right? You got to be the first agent in, and then you got to be the first agent to open up the door for that lead. Yeah. And then on top of that, they're not even loyal. All they want to do is just see the house. And after they see the house, they may not even be A buyers. They may not even be B buyers. They're just kind of out there looking, but you got to qualify them and you got to go through that process. And they're not even loyal to you. You haven't even added enough value to them yet in the transaction or throughout the process for them to stay loyal with you. So I found that it was just, even with the high conversion rate, it was still very inefficient for me. And I found that the SOI lead is someone that I'm really not competing against other agents. I mean, sometimes you will have to still compete for their business, but the trust is already established. They're either finding you on social media platforms that you're marketing to, but it's a much more pleasant experience for me. As I was continuing to grow my team too, I realized that the conversion rates were falling and my ROI was not as great as what it was when I was a solo agent practicing following up with these leads over and over again.
Yeah. When did, do you have a team now? You have a team now?
Yes. Yep.
When did you decide that you needed to create some leverage within the business and want to expand, your operation?
Great question. When I had my daughter, when my wife had our daughter, I just like, um, I believe in hard work. More than hard work, I believe in efficient work. I believe in making sure you're very focused when you're in the office and you're doing the tasks that are required of you on a daily basis, right? You're setting your appointments, you're doing the morning routine, you're doing your activities, because I think that that's what the true foundation of the business is, right? And so I wanted to build the team to essentially just create some leverage, right? At the time, I think building the team was to create my own leverage. And it quickly made me realize that I need to build a team to support for the transition from helping buyers and sellers to now helping agents, to raise them up to the highest level possible so they can service our clientele to the way that I would service our clientele. And then we're able to cast a wider net into the marketplace with high level service while I'm also helping change the lives of the agents on our team. Does that make sense?
100%. And I want to go back and touch on something that you mentioned because I asked this to my real estate coach last week. And it's in the same regards, right? You mentioned discipline and intentional focus, and that's truly the foundation to what we do, right? This goes back to what I said, real estate's simple but hard. And what I asked my coach was, why is it that we always feel like we have to do more? Like, why is it that I have to go and learn Canva, right? Why is it that I have to go and, do X, Y, and Z, shoot these videos for YouTube and do all of these things? Why can't it just be prospect, service clients, prospect, service clients? And you mentioned you had a discipline, right? And that's what I want to get to, right? Like, how did you get to the point of having the discipline of the intentional work? Because that's where the agents struggle, right? That's where we struggle as a whole. We have this freedom to do whatever we want with our day, right? We don't have to clock in, clock out. But the most successful people, I always say, they're disciplined in the routine of prospecting.
It's a great question, John. Thank you. I think, and I'm going to speak from experience personally, and I'm also going to speak on what I feel like I see agents out there doing, right? We're in a fast information society. Things are moving so quickly and we want results immediately. And I think that if we don't see results quickly enough, we pivot, right? The one thing, the biggest ROI that we have is time. If we do something longer than anyone else is willing to do it, you are going to see the results. It's time is like the ultimate thing. So I look at it as like hitting a wall. If you hit a wall and you're trying to knock down the wall over and over again, you keep hitting the brick wall in the exact same spot over and over and over again, right? Instead of hitting the right corner, the left corner, the bottom corner, all these different areas, right? And I think like we hit the middle of the wall once or twice, and they're like, well, the wall's not doing anything, so I got to hit this other part of the wall, or I have to hit this other part of the wall, or I have to hit something else, and staying hyper focused on what you're doing, how you want to build your business. Let's say if it's through YouTube content, with podcasting, all these different things, but you have to get out in front of people, and you have to, make sure that you are the person that they're going to go to for all their real estate questions. But just keep hitting that wall over and over again and let time take care of itself as long as you're doing the action.
Yeah. There's some great books around, that topic. The book that I always read every year early in my career was The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. There's Atomic Habits out there. To me, like, he's a local dude, Columbus dude.
Yep.
That one didn't really hit with me, but I will say the one that hit most recently with me that I read every year now is called The Power of Consistency by Weldon Long. And, it's funny because as you were talking, it's the freedom and flexibility of what our career and our industry provides us is great, right? But it's really the discipline that allows you to have the freedom and flexibility. It's not the chaos. And I think a lot of times as agents, we get caught up in the chaos and we think we have freedom and flexibility to go and do whatever we want whenever we want. But it's really, why are agents anxious all the time about their business? It's because they lack prospecting and lead generation. But if you prospected and lead generated for 2 to 3 hours a day, you're not going to be anxious about your business.
Yep.
And you're going to have all the time in the world in the afternoon or evening or whatever to do whatever you want, work with the clients that you want, right? The clients that you don't want, you can give up because there's going to be more clients coming.
Yep.
And so I really wanted to hit home, with you on that, because it is, discipline is the separator.
Yep. 100%. And I think too, like, if we get into the industry and then you start to find some success and then you feel like you're busy, you're showing houses, you're doing all these various tasks that fill up your calendar. And then next thing you know, you sacrifice lead generation because you're like, well, I'm busy. I mean, this is what I've always wanted. I wanted to be busy. And we sacrifice that lead gen time, or that whatever the time is that you want to call it, for prospecting or finding new business, right? And it feels good to be busy. It feels good to drive down to Grove City to show 2 or 3 homes. But in reality, that's not what's going to continue to fuel your business, and that's not a true foundation. In fact, the question should be is, how can I leverage showing this property through a showing assistant, through a mentee, or whatever that is. So you're exactly right. I mean, it's being focused with your time. It's being intentional, and the good things will eventually take place as long as you're willing to put in the time.
Yeah. So it sounds like COVID was kind of like a line in the sand of you kind of making this pivot within your business. How did you focus going on and making that pivot? Because I think that's a key to real estate agent success in our industries. You have to stay open-minded to making changes. Obviously, we're probably going to have a fairly decent change coming up here in our industry in the near future. What did you focus on in order to switch your business and really kind of go more sphere of influence, past client based?
Again, like my hand was forced, or maybe I just wasn't willing to, like, failure is part of everything that we do, and identifying when failure is taking place or challenges are taking place and how to pivot was something that I think I'm pretty good at. So to give you an example, I was running a small team, COVID hit, and immediately my mentor says, manage that P&L, be extremely, extremely purposeful within your P&L, specifically your expenses. You can grow your margins through expenses, but you grow your business through revenue, through additional capital that you want to reinvest into your business. And so we had to be very, very intentional with making sure that we were running a very lean business. Everyone was scared. Maybe there was a part of it that is an overreaction. But what it did do is make our business much more efficient, to which we were able to grab some market share. So then when we're bringing in additional business, because the world didn't blow up like we all thought it was going to, we were running a very, very profitable real estate business. So the agents on my team decided to get some W-2 jobs. They were scared about what the business looked like too. So I was left with me and my admin, one other agent, and I had an opportunity to kind of build it up again to where we are right now, and without disrupting a lot of pieces. And so I took that opportunity, and that's where we are. And thank goodness, because COVID turned out to be such an amazing thing, quite frankly, for our business, because the relationships and the people that we're able to help right now is something that I'm super proud of.
Yeah, for sure. I kind of want to pivot the focus of this conversation to more of the future. What's something that you're looking to accomplish here in the next 12 months within real estate, within, your business?
That's great. This year has been exceptional for us. I think we just looked at our numbers, and first quarter, we're up 288% from last year. And our expenses are only up 13%. So we're running really, really strong right now. So I guess toward the end of this year, we want to make sure we keep that momentum and we put the pieces in place for next year to make sure that we're continuing to grow and we don't let this success, we're not complacent with the success, so to speak. That's something that's very important to me. I want to transition out of doing more traditional real estate within the next year, 2 years, 3 years. I want to be focusing on business opportunities. I want to be focusing on different areas that maybe we want to get into from a location or a marketing standpoint. So that's my professional goal, is to continue to slow down my production. I hope next year I'm doing less than what I'm doing this year, and the following year I'm doing even less than what I'm doing this year. And we're looking to grow our team through fantastic agents and through more admin. And we're looking for those various business opportunities that are out there and continuing to help our agents do more volume.
What gives you the confidence to be able to scale out of your personal production and allow your team to kind of pick up the slack? Because, I was fortunate. My mentor, my team lead, I'm still with him. I've been with him since day one, right? And so I got to see him transition out of production fairly early in my career, and obviously operating our team where he hasn't had to jump back in probably since 2014, 2015, right? And running a true business. And a lot of agents are afraid to scale out to then have that leverage. What gives you the confidence? Is it the P&L? Because you mentioned the P&L a lot. You know your numbers, right? And
yep.
I know a lot of agents don't have a P&L, don't know what a P&L is, don't know how to operate a P&L. So what is it for you that gives you that confidence?
It's just part of the progression, I guess. And then maybe it's just a level of acceptance. Like, we have to be continuing to look for our replacement. And that's just the bottom line. If you want to grow, and if you want to scale, and if you want to continue to provide a world big enough for your agents to get what they're looking to get out of it, you have to be ready to replace yourself currently in the role that you're in. So I think for us and the leaders of our organization, we're just ready for that natural, I guess, progression that's going to take place, to which I'm looking for the next person to fill my role, to be one of the lead producers on the team, to also want to mentor some of the agents on our team, allow me to then go and look for various business opportunities or whatever is going to be able to continue to drive more business for our organization. But I think, to your point, I don't want to interrupt. Sorry, John, but I just want to say, I think a lot of agents get stuck in doing what they're currently doing because they're trying to support a certain lifestyle. And that can be very, very dangerous, because then you're starting to see income from the business come in, and they're like driving a nice Audi or a Corvette or whatever it is, and that is a payment. You got the nice house. It's the next thing you know, you're digging this hole that's so deep based on the lifestyle that you want to live that you can't get out of production. You almost have to take a step back in order to take 2 or 3 steps forward.
I love that you use that word, because I've changed my views on why agents get into this business, right? The most common thing is most people want to make more money. They want to have more time, freedom. They want to have flexibility within their schedule. But I ask agents, what lifestyle do you want to live? Because if you say you want to go and sell 50 houses as an individual agent, that's a different lifestyle that you're living than building a team and having leverage and having other people do some of the heavy lifting for you, right? Or even, me, when I was selling as a full-time agent, it was, hey, I was cool doing 25 to 35 houses a year because I didn't have to work around the clock. I didn't have, I could pick and choose when I wanted to go on vacations or when I wanted to take days off and things like that, because it was the lifestyle, right? Yeah, maybe I did sacrifice the nicer car back then or the nicer house back then. And so I asked that question to a lot of agents. What lifestyle? Selling 50 homes sounds great until you actually have to work Monday through Sunday, 9 to 9, right? Especially if you're buy side heavy, and
that's right.
And you're driving around all over, Central Ohio to make it happen. Now the money's good, but try going on vacation, right? Try taking a week off, try spending time with family.
That's right. And I'll say this, I'll even go one step further, is who do you want to be in 10 years? Because whoever you want to be in 10 years, you need to start taking those actions today, right? And I think maybe that's where you were going by saying, do you want to have a volume of 50 homes or whatever that looks like? Well, you got to be starting to take those actions today that you want to achieve in 5-10 years from now. Because if you're taking the actions based on your lifestyle currently, you won't get to where you want to be. It's the actions of the future self that are important, not the actions of today.
Yeah, 100%. Taylor, what's a legacy goal for you?
Oh, great question. That wasn't on the sheet that you gave me earlier. So you're putting me on the spot.
That's by design.
Yeah. Everything I do, John, is for my kids and my wife. Quite frankly, you know, I don't owe anyone anything, and so I want to make sure that I'm teaching the proper habits, teaching the proper lifestyle. I'm living but with intention, to be with my family, to show them what it means to be a hard worker and also be available. So yeah, that's the legacy. It's not big. Like I don't need a huge house. I don't drive a nice car, like an expensive car. Those things don't really resonate with me. It's changing people's lives, quite frankly. It starts with my family and then works down to our team. And so my overall legacy is just to impact as many people as I possibly can, by doing the right thing, by paying it forward, by giving back to our community. Yeah, that's what drives me right now. And great question. Thanks for asking.
I love that. I think, you know, our missions align. And, you know, when I got into the business, I was so young and cocky. You can say I was cocky back then, and I didn't understand. I bring this up all the time because it's so important. There's an agent on my team that was older than me, and he's like, you know, John, what we do is we change lives, right? We help buyers and sellers. We change lives through home ownership. And I didn't believe it then. And then over the years, obviously, I saw the power of what real estate does for people. But then my passion switched to helping real estate agents and seeing the lives change of a real estate agent coming from a career that they didn't enjoy, right? Making more money now than that they weren't making before. Spending more time with family, right? That maybe they didn't get before. And so I'm right there with you with that. And last question for you.
All right.
And again, I appreciate you jumping on with me and sharing your journey. And I hope, you know, the audience listening, you know, Taylor came on and said, hey, I built it one way, but it wasn't me. And I switched. And, you know, here's how he did it. And I hope that you guys took a lot of notes from today's call, because this conversation is why I do it, right? People are told in our industry that you have to go and network. You have to build it through your SOI. You have to do it this way, that way, whatever. You got to find what works best for you. And at the end of the day, it's when I say real estate's simple but hard, it comes down to how many conversations did you have today about real estate. Doesn't matter how that happens, but that's the simplistic version of it, right? So Taylor, what's one piece of advice that maybe you received in your career, or one that you give to agents when they ask you, you know, what do they need to know about real estate?
Study people, listen to people, be very intentional about listening. I think that that's incredibly important in our industry. I guess I'm turning this into several pieces of advice, right? Watch for the cues throughout your career. Watch for the moments when you feel like that it's time to take a pivot, or things are working really well, and how can you double down in that area, and be open to change. I think, to your point, we're at a crossroads in our industry, and we're going to start to see a lot of disruption here very soon if we haven't already seen it. And it's going to open the eyes to a lot of agents on whether they want to stay in the business, how they're going to stay in the business, or where they're going to be able to double down, right? And I firmly believe that if your people skills are strong, if you can listen, if you can talk to people, and you can engage with them about real estate or whatever it is, people want to be heard. People want to be listened to. And if you can connect with someone through listening, it's going to change your business, and you're not going to have to worry about the disruptions in our marketplace. And quite frankly, there's an opportunity to grab a lot of market share here very soon. And we're doubling down on training and communicating through people to make sure that we're ready for that.
Love that. Those that are watching, if you guys are a buyer, a seller here in Central Ohio, you know, and you resonated with Taylor, his phone number is down below. Please reach out to him. If you are an agent that really, loved his story and the journey, and you want to learn more about him and his team, make sure you send him a text message, give him a call, reach out to him. I know he's going to pour into you and share. But Taylor, those that are listening in, what is the best way for someone to connect with you?
Yeah, so I mean, all social platforms. Our real estate group is ReEquity Group, ReEquity group, and that's realestateagroup.com. My phone number is at the bottom, 614-600-7503. Yeah, we run a great real estate team. We got probably about 6 or 7 agents on our team. We've got 2 full-time admin and a productivity coach. So we're positioning ourselves to do some pretty amazing things here throughout the rest of 2024 and into 2025, and we're excited for that. So I certainly would love to connect with anyone. John, we have a lot of similarities, and I really like to raise our industry up, because sometimes I feel like we view competition with other agents, other brokerages, things like that. But the reality is we're in competition with the outside influences, such as, the lawsuits that are taking place or whatever. And if we as agents can raise each other up to be more professional, to continue to add more value to our clientele, people don't question compensation when value is provided. They question compensation in the absence of value. So if we can make sure that we're sharpening our tools as agents to make sure that we're delivering and communicating on the value that we promise, I mean, we're in the same profession as CPAs, as attorneys, as doctors, that sort of thing. And we just need to be making sure that we're treating our industry the same way as well.
Yeah, 100%. Make sure you guys reach out to Taylor. Taylor, thanks so much for your time today. Really enjoyed getting to learn a little bit more about you and your business. If I can, return a favor to you in any way, please, reach out to me. But I really appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks, John. Appreciate you.